So hospitals are starting to come around. They're getting that like hospital food like doesn't help their patients get better. And so so what they're right, amazing, right? So what they're starting to do, at least from what I can see, is they're starting to localize their purchasing. They're starting to try and buy from local farms. Now, the challenge there, and the challenge with any large institution when you're dealing with one single large purchaser, their needs are much different than smaller guys and smaller gals. Like, you know, if you're running a restaurant that serves 300 people a day, which might be a lot for a restaurant, versus a hospital that does 10,000 a day or something like that, it's a big difference in terms of what the demand is, and you need regular, shipments, and it has to be on time. So there's some stuff that's happening in New England actually. Organic Renaissance FoodX is trying to solve that problem on the institution side. I'm not sure where they're at right now, but I know that they're dealing with that one.
I just want to add that SBN just put together the Buy Local trade show.
Thank you.
And that happened 2 months ago, and part of the reason was that I wanted to bring together into the same place sellers and buyers, and a lot of the buyers were institutions that are looking to do this.
Excellent, thank you. Mass Convention Center, I think, is another organization that's doing some good stuff. So stepping outside of what's actually happening and into a little bit of what's possible, at Amoeba we actually focus a lot about working with independent trade associations. So there was a recent summit meeting that we had between Amoeba, the American Booksellers, I know I'm going to forget one here, the American Specialty Toy Retailers, the Independent Innkeepers, bike shops, and I knew I was going to forget the other one. And so what's interesting about these trade associations is a couple of things. One, a lot of the stuff that we talked about applies and adds some value to their members, right? So if you're an independent business and you're a community that doesn't necessarily have some of this activity happening, wow, wouldn't it be great if my trade association helped provide me some material? So that's something that we do with trade associations. But think about alignment. Independent booksellers have been beating the buy local drum for a long time. You know why? Because they knew that it was core to their existence in the future. That if they didn't retain and communicate with their customer base that this stuff is important, they weren't going to be around anymore. And think about the changes in that industry and the fact that last year there was a net increase in independent bookstores. Think about that for a second in this country. A net increase with Amazon and Kindle and every other delivery mechanism that's out there. There was an increase in independent bookstores. Absolutely amazing.
Like Borders and everyone folded that same year.
I think so, yeah. Maybe that had something to do with it. Yeah. But I think actually if you look over a 5-year period, there's an increase too.
But what's your point in saying that it's shifting because
Well, I think that part of it is that they have really done a good job of saying, look, like if you want us here, and so part of what the allure of the bookstore is, I think, is that it's a community center and people have an experience by being there. And so they really, and you can't really recapture that experience by looking at a computer. I'm not saying that buying a book online is bad necessarily, although you should pay taxes on it. But they've done a really good job of positioning their industry to say like, here's what differentiates us, right? So they're being good business people, and they've really said like, look, local independent business is part of what we're about, and so that's why you should be here, And so to your question there, Michael, I think that there's a ton of opportunity in terms of working with trade associations. And if anyone has ideas on that, or folks that we can reach out to, either at SBN or Amoeba or what have you, we'd be all too happy to have that conversation and look at possibilities. Did you have a question? Other questions, comments?